we are going to do singular and plural nouns. Okay, let's look at what your textbook says on page 81. Singular nouns that have a Y after a consonant. Okay, for example, story. Changes to IES in the plural. Okay, so remember, singular means one, plural means more than one. Okay, and what is a noun? A noun is a thing, a name of a thing that we use. If it's a common noun, it's something that we use all the time. So now we are going to take story. So if you take story, I read you a story, it is singular. If we change it to plural, it changes to stories. So if your singular ends with a Y, it changes to IES. Words that end in a ch have an ES added. For example, watch. So if your singular noun is watch and you need to change it into the plural, you just add a ES and it changes to watches. Okay, so remember, if your word ends with a ch and you need to change it into plural, you just add an ES. Words that end in an S, like class, have an ES added. So I've got one class, but in LaSalle College, we have a lot of classes. We just added an ES. We can use grass as well. I stand on a grass won't. Okay, let's use grass. Grass, grasses, because it ends with an S, so you just add an ES. City, I stay in the city, but there are a lot of dogs in the cities. Butterfly, there's one butterfly, but we bought a lot of butterflies. So the Y, look at your rule, changes to IES. So what I'm asking you to do is, you have to look at this reading passage here on this page, on page 80. Read through it and list all the plural, or list 5 plural common nouns. Remember, plural common nouns, and write them in your workbook. Number 2 says, change these nouns. So it will be the nouns here at the bottom. Change these nouns to plural form using the rules. Here are the rules, using these rules. You can do number 1 and 2. Do them in your workbook. Present tense. Simple present tense. Verbs describe actions. Okay, it's your describing words. When the verb describes an action happening now, we call it present tense. Remember, present tense is now. Past tense, it already happened. Future tense, it still needs to happen. For example, present tense, I walk. What are you doing now? I walk. Okay, you listen. He rides. We laugh. They talk. Okay, now let's change these ones to the past tense. Can you remember the rule that I taught you guys about past tense? When we change a word into the past tense, you add a ed. I walked. You listened. He not rides, he rode. We laughed, another ed, they talked. Some verbs also describe a state of being. Example, I am thirsty. Let's look at this block here at the bottom. This table you have to study. It's something that you need to study. So make a note here. Let's say exam. Okay, it's a very important. Present tense. Your verb to be changes if the present tense is I am, we say we are. You are changes to you are. He, she, or it is, they are. I was, we were. You were stays you were. He, she, or it was changes to they were. Next up, we are going to plan a short story adventure. Okay, adventure stories can be fun to write, but only when you know what the plot will be, what it will be about. Before writing, we have to plan our own adventure. So what you're going to do, you're going to use this rocket. So you can draw this rocket in your book, or you can find a rocket on the internet, print it, it's up to you, but just draw it in your workbook. Then you fill in the beginning. So you have to introduce your characters. Then you write it next to it. Who will be your characters? Who will be your main character? So that is the person or the character that the story will be all about. Then the middle, what happens to start the adventure. So in the beginning, you will introduce the characters and the setting, so where it's happening. Then the middle paragraph will be what happens to start the adventure. What problems must the character solve? Then your end will be where you solve the problem and how the story ends. So you will just rewrite this. Characters, list your 2-3 characters. Your main character, list your one main character. Just shortly plan your adventure story. Then you are going to write the draft of your story. So write your first draft of your story. It tells you, yeah, your story must be between 120 to 140 words long. Now remember, when you write your story, use your planning. Use your planning. Your story needs to be 3 paragraphs. The beginning, the middle, the end. Then try to use as many as of the adjectives in the margin as you can in your story. So we are referring to these adjectives. Use these adjectives in your adventure. After you've written your draft, now you have to edit your story. Edit means check it. Check that all your proper nouns have capital letters. Remember capital letters, full stops. Remember all your punctuation and your spelling. Check that you have used the proper punctuation, and then check that you have spelled all plural nouns properly. Last step, you can do the writing of your adventure over 3 days. So let's say on Monday or Tuesday, you can start your planning. And then the next day, you do your draft. Then you edit your story. You can edit a draft and edit your story on the same day. And then the last day, you present your story. Okay? Now you write your final in neat. Remember that you have to write in cursive. Remember that you have to write in pen. If you make a mistake with your pen, use your pencil. Draw one small light line through it and rewrite the word. I don't want you to scratch it out. After you've written your final, please present it to your mom or your dad or to your brother, your sister. Read it to them and try and make eye contact.